Well, good morning and welcome to lesson 44, using the wide edition of A Course in Miracles. God is the light in which I see. So today we are continuing with the idea for yesterday, adding another dimension to it. You cannot see in darkness and you cannot make light. You can make darkness and then think you see in it, but light reflects life and is therefore an aspect of creation. Creation and darkness cannot coexist, but light and life must go together, being but different aspects of creation. In order to see, one must recognize that light is within, not without. You do not see outside yourself, nor is the equipment for seeing outside you. An essential part of this equipment is the light that makes seeing possible. It is with you always, making vision possible in every circumstances. Today we are going to attempt to reach that light. For that purpose we will use a form of practice which has been suggested once before and which we will utilize increasingly. It is a particularly difficult form for the undisciplined mind because it represents a major goal of mind training. It embodies precisely what the untrained mind lacks. Yet the training must be accomplished if you are to see. Have at least 3 practice periods today, each lasting 3 to 5 minutes. A longer time is highly recommended, but only if you find the time merely slipping by with little or no sense of strain. The form of exercise we will use today is the most natural and easy one in the world for the trained mind, just as it seems to be the most unnatural and difficult for the untrained mind. Your mind is no longer wholly untrained. You are quite ready to learn the form of exercise we will use today, but you may find that you will encounter strong resistance. The reason is very simple. While you practice in this form, you leave behind everything that you now believe and all the thoughts which you have made up. The reason is very simple. While you practice in this form, you leave behind everything that you now believe and all the thoughts which you have made up. Properly speaking, this is the release from hell. Perceived through the ego's eyes, it is loss of identity and descent into hell. If you can stand aside from the ego ever so little, you will have no difficulty in recognizing that its opposition and fears are meaningless. You might find it helpful to remind yourself from time to time that to reach light is to escape from darkness, whatever you may believe to the contrary. God is the light in which you see. You are attempting to reach Him. Begin the practice period by repeating today's idea with your eyes open and close them slowly, repeating the idea several times more. Then try to sink into your mind, letting go every kind of interference and intrusion by quietly sinking past them. Your mind cannot be stopped in this unless you choose to stop it. It is merely taking its natural course. Try to observe your passing thoughts without involvement and slip quietly by them. While no particular form of approach is advocated, what is needful is a sense of the importance of what you are doing, its inestimable value to you, and an awareness that you are attempting something very holy. Salvation is your happiest accomplishment. It is also the only one that has any meaning, because it is the only one that has any use to you at all. If resistance rises in any form, pause long enough to repeat today's idea, keeping your eyes closed unless you are aware of fear. In that case, you'll probably find it more reassuring to open your eyes briefly. Try, however, to return to the exercises as soon as possible. If you are doing the exercises correctly, if you are doing the exercises correctly, you should experience some sense of relaxation and even a feeling that you are approaching, if not actually entering, into light. Try to think of light, formless and without limit, as you pass by the thoughts of this world, and do not forget that they cannot hold you to the world unless you give them the power to do so. Throughout the day, repeat the idea often with eyes open or closed, as seems better to you at the time. Do not forget, above all, be determined not to forget today. God is the light in which I see. So letting go of everything. And I think it was 2 lessons ago where we had that down and back sensation, or down and back guidance, where allowing yourself to slip down and back into the mind beyond the conscious band, beyond all that sort of static of thoughts that have no meaning and everything else. And which is why you cannot use your own thoughts to try and work this out. There's nothing to work out. It's simply an action of mind, which is letting go. And in everything in this course, there's Puppy again. In everything in this course, one lesson is all lessons. It's just a letting go of what I think, and allowing something not of my own making to happen. Allowing it to be a miracle. Right? Now, if you're having trouble with that, remember, it's only early days. This lesson, this particular type of lesson and mind training gets presented many times. But if you're having trouble, remember to ask for help. Right? Asking for help, higher help, right? Through the prayer of the heart. I need help. I can't do this. I'm so unwilling to sit quietly. And remember, there's no such thing as I can't. Right? In this course, there is no I can't. It's either I am willing or I am unwilling in all aspects of the course. Right? The power of God resides in you to accomplish anything. So if you cannot do it, or find yourself that you can't do it, it's not that you can't do it, it's that you're unwilling to call upon that inner power and that determination that impresses upon the request for inner power. I don't know if that's the right way to put it. But that's a very important thing, because you'll find many blocks as you go along in this course, in the text and in the workbook, that make it very clear and obvious to you that when Jesus says, ask and ye shall receive, if you're not receiving, it's because you're not truly asking. Right? And one of the first blocks, or the first block to peace, as set out in the course, is the desire to get rid of it. It's not that you don't want it, you want to actively get rid of it. So you're up against that ego pre-programming that says, no, peace is not for me, I'm here for chaos, suffering and death, and peace, off you go. So you're reprogramming the part of the mind that believes in separation. Right? And that part is very vocal. It'll just do this, do this, do this. And you're addicted and accustomed to listening to it. And so the tendency is, when you try to quiet the mind, is to ask yourself sort of questions about, is this quiet? You know, is this a quiet mind? Am I doing this right? Is this what he means? All these sorts of questions. Forget about those things. Let go of everything. You can't be sitting in there questioning and answering your own questions with your pointy little brain. Right? Got to let go of it in its entirety. All right, well, that's it. Lesson 45 tomorrow. God is the mind with which I think. And I really love these lessons. You know, the idea that the kingdom of heaven is within you, or that the kingdom of heaven is you. You are God's creation, and that resides in your mind. I think it was Einstein, or might have been Freud, that said we only use about 5 or 6% or something of our capacity in here, which is mostly taken up by what clothes will I wear today, and what breakfast will I have, and all these sorts of temporally associated kind of things. And you know, certainly in the brain department, which is not to be confused with mine, in the brain department, it would seem that we use very little of our brain. Just turn on the news, turn on your television. So, all right, well, I love you, and there is more going on in your mind than you're aware of. Let it happen. Just let it happen. Right? There's a particular school of thought in much of the spiritual realm that says it's suffering that brings you to your knees. It's suffering that brings you to surrender. And while certainly that is true, I'm not going to deny that, because that's how I had my own experience through intense inner suffering. But it's also entirely possible through willingness, just a little willingness that you can give to the Holy Spirit to use on your behalf, to undergo your own experience and metamorphosis without the necessity to suffer. Right? That being said, there will be moments where that voice in your head tempts you to believe that you're losing something or sacrificing something for truth, which is not true, because just because you're unaware of what it is that you're embarking upon to achieve as an experience doesn't mean that it's a sacrifice. And I guarantee you that when you discover it and when you have that experience for yourself, there will be the notion of sacrifice will be it's so far beyond all expectation, and it's beautiful. All right, I love you. Take it easy. See you tomorrow.